Part 1. Introduction and Overview of the Enhanced Transparency Framework. As countries, also known as parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Paris Agreement, we all recognize the need for an effective and progressive response to the urgent threat of climate change. In this response, we may be at different stages of our journeys, but we have all been measuring and reporting our progress, which provides each of us and the Convention reliable, transparent, and comprehensive information on emissions, actions, and support, enabling us to understand current emission levels and the ambition of existing efforts, as well as our progress on both the national and international scale. For us to realize the full benefits of these efforts, our participation must be centered on providing accurate and reliable transparent data and information. Zebu, our fictitious country, is here to help explain how we can achieve greater transparency under the Paris Agreement, building on the existing measurement, reporting, and verification arrangements, also known as MRV. Transparency is a way for all parties to see what actions are being conducted. Transparency implies openness, communication, and accountability. When we ensure transparency in a non-punitive and non-intrusive manner, we can build mutual trust and shared confidence and promote the effective implementation of the Convention and the Paris Agreement. Transparency allows further benefits to countries, including informing policies, plans, strategies, and programs, improved access to support, capacity building, political buy-in, and increased awareness. Under the Convention, developing countries like Zebu have been participating in the MRV process. Under the Paris Agreement, parties will now participate in a similar process known as the Enhanced Transparency Framework, or ETF. Please pause for a moment to review an overview of the existing MRV arrangements. In summary, the existing MRV framework includes submitting national communications every 4 years and biennial update reports, or BURs, every 2 years. The BUR also includes information on parties, nationally appropriate mitigation actions, and REDD+ activities. Under MRV, reports undergo the International Consultation and Analysis phase, which includes technical analysis by a team of experts and the facilitative sharing of views. To ensure transparency, Article 13 of the Paris Agreement established the Enhanced Transparency Framework, also known as the ETF, for action and support. Please pause for a moment to review an overview of the ETF. As you can see, the reporting will be in the form of BTRs, which will go through a technical expert review and a facilitative multilateral consideration of progress, or FMCP. GHG inventories will play a very important role because these will form a basis for tracking progress in implementing and achieving nationally determined contributions, or NDCs. The purpose of Transparency for Action is to provide a clear understanding of climate action, including clarity and tracking of progress towards NDCs, as well as adaptation actions. While the purpose of Transparency for Support is to provide clarity on support provided and received by individual parties in the context of climate change actions, and to provide a full overview of total financial support provided. Because the ETF is built on and improves existing MRV arrangements, the existing institutional arrangements can work to support the ETF. In recognizing that parties have different capacities and are at different stages, the ETF provides flexibility to those developing countries that need it in light of their capacities. The ETF will be implemented based on modalities, procedures, and guidelines, known as MPGs, that apply to all parties. These MPGs specify the flexibility provisions that are available to developing countries that need them in light of their capacities, and outline flexibility in how often they report, how detailed it is, and what the scope of the review covers. There are 8 principles for the MPGs. Please take a moment to pause here to review these principles. Under the ETF, parties will continue to submit their national communications. However, instead of BURs, they will submit biennial transparency reports, also known as BTRs. BTRs are submitted every 2 years, and the information in the BTR will undergo a Technical Expert Review, or TER. And once the TER report is finalized, each party will take part in the Facilitative Multilateral Consideration of Progress, or FMCP. In this way, the ETF is similar to MRV in terms of each phase of the transparency process. However, there are also areas of enhancement, as the ETF brings common MPGs for all parties and requires continuous improvement. In summary, transparency under the Paris Agreement will provide clarity in the tracking of progress towards NDC and adaptation actions, and clarity in the supports provided and received, and will build trust among parties. While reporting under the ETF will be similar to our current MRV system, it will promote universal participation that includes built-in flexibility and takes into account parties' different capacities. The ETF builds on the collective experience of both developed and developing countries. See Part 2 of this series, which provides more details on what reporting looks like under the ETF.